Night owls of Reddit, what is the creepiest things you've experienced while everyone else was sleeping? Nothing too crazy, but one night last summer my wife went to bed around 1 AM and I went out my side door to smoke a joint. I usually go out my patio door in the back and smoke on my deck. Not 20 minutes later, while I'm playing a video game, my phone gives me an alert: there is motion at your carport. A freaking black bear walked right by where I was standing looking for my garbage bin. He would have walked right into me. Sunrise. How the fuck does a giant fusion generator sneak into view with almost no one noticing? My apartment is near the train tracks, so the train rattles the place a bit. I had just put in a new dresser. Train rolls by like usual, rattles the place, and the drawers on this dresser just all creep open at once. I was fucking terrified before I realized what made them open, and was no joke expecting some kind of horror movie shit. Long read ahead. So this thing that happened to me was scary as hell for me on two accounts. 1, my cousin just finished narrating a horror story that happened to her neighbor, and 2, I was spooked as hell. Anyways, it was around 3:30 and I was thirsty as hell, and I am never one to get thirsty in the middle of the night, but I went ahead and had water. While I was coming back to my room from the kitchen, I heard the dogs outside crying and howling very loudly, and by the sound I could understand there were a lot of dogs outside, and that again was the first time I heard that sound at that time of the night, and there are never that many dogs usually in our area. So this is when things get real creepy. We stayed on 4th floor and the windows had no place for anyone or anything to sit or stand, but I heard the sound of clinking of an anklet. I thought it was my imagination and turned the other way to sleep, but then I heard it again, and this time closer, like as if the sound was coming from the room. I got super scared and decided to turn around, and while I was turning around I saw some hazy form at the window in the mirror placed right in front of me. I jumped up and turned the light and checked everywhere, but it vanished. I still get spooked when I think about that night, and when I told my cousin about this the next day, she told me that dogs usually howl if they see ghosts. Rest assured I couldn't sleep for weeks after that. I've always worked better at night, but I really fell in love with working late night in college. I found a girl that worked in the same way. We started dating and it was nice. One night, we're getting back to my apartment, extra room behind an older couple's house, nice part of town, at around 3 AM. She gets ready to go out and unlock the gate, and I say stay in the car. I had seen a dog wandering around in the rearview mirror. She asked why, and I didn't want to unduly alarm her, so I just asked her to stay in the car for a second time. What I thought was one dog ended up being a roaming herd of feral dogs, 12 to 15 in total. It took about a minute for them to walk around my car, sniff at it a little bit, and leave. We busted the block before coming back to the apartment, but I never felt safe there again. It was super creepy. I can't really explain why/how, but it's akin to domesticated farm animals changing their appearance when they're allowed to roam in the wild. Pigs grow tusks, body hair, and mass. With dogs, they turn into another animal and behave like a pack. Seeing a social/intelligent animal like that, with the potential to take down a person. Yeah. It changed things for me. Well, at a house I used to live there was some creepy stuff. A few nights while doing some late night gaming I would hear a faint whisper. When that happened I would get straight to bed. The area had an old legend about a horse dying in the construction of the area, and they were true since I heard galloping late at night. Basically, thought it was the neighbor's BF sneaking out of the house. Turns out family was gone for the weekend and that was a robber escaping. Not totally late, but I had my window open while I was playing video games and I heard a blood-curdling scream from my neighborhood. I looked out the window at this girl pounding at a door to another house screaming, "Help me. For the love of God, somebody please help me." I called the cops and explained things, but between going up/downstairs looking through every window I lost track of her. I don't know what went on, and I warned my roommate to make sure I was downstairs watching her through the window before she came home from work and exited her car. She and I spent the next 2 hours with weapons in our hands waiting at the door until we called the cops again for an update, and they said the situation was handled. Odd, because we never saw a cop vehicle on the road. I don't know how those things work. Back when MySpace was still a popular thing, 2006-ish, I often stayed the night with my friend. One night I couldn't sleep, so I was in their living room chatting online. Out of the corner of my eye I saw someone walk from the dining room into the den. It was really dark, I couldn't see anything in that room, and no one answered me when I spoke. Assuming my friend was up and messing with me, I got up to see, but there was no one there. The next morning I told my friend's mom, and she just casually said, "Oh, that's Grandpa. He died last year." Okay then. Another event that multiple people heard happened there too. My friend's brother was home from school, so I didn't get to sleep in the bedroom. I was stuck on the sofa in that creepy-ass den, but mostly too drunk to care. I was awakened in the middle of the night by a horrible crashing sound, and come to find out the VCR somehow came off the shelf it was on and had been on forever. I didn't stay over after that. I assumed Grandpa didn't want to share his fucking couch and was politely telling me to piss off. It was around 2 in the morning. My partner was sleeping upstairs, but I decided I'd stay downstairs so I didn't wake him. I was on my computer all night, playing a game. I wasn't keeping track of what was going on around me. I heard my dogs comes up for pets, so naturally I'd put my hand out and they'd come for some scratches. I put my hand out, but what I felt wasn't my dog. I took my hand back and realized nothing was there. The fur wasn't like my other dogs. It was very, very coarse. It almost hurt my palm. I wasn't paying attention, so I never got to see what it was. I turned around and saw all my dogs peacefully asleep on the couch. I still wonder what it was and if I was hallucinating due to being up late. I'm writing this in the exact bed I saw this happen, so I'm scared. I think I was around 5 to 7, and my house is a split level. Each arrow is a few steps up: garage, right arrow, bathroom, office, family room, right arrow, kitchen, living room, dining, right arrow, right arrow, right arrow, 3 bedrooms, full bath. My bed is facing my door, so I can see straight out in the hallway. It leads down 10 stairs, across the living room and the edge of my house. I woke up to a figure walking that stretch over and over. Just walking. I can still picture this misty white figure, seeming to walk in an orderly, almost soldier-like fashion. I sprinted up out of my bed when I knew it reached the other side of the house and woke my parents up. I never saw it again, and I hope I don't. One time at 4 AM or something like that, there was what seemed to be a whole mariachi band playing outside my apartment block, right outside my window. I thought it was just my imagination, so I recorded it with my phone, didn't bother checking the window, too scared of what it might be, and went to sleep. When I woke up, I checked the recording, and sure enough, a mariachi band was heard playing. Now it could be my neighbors, but none of my neighbors listen to Hispanic songs, nor are of Latin ethnicity, besides my family. Additionally, it's a neighborhood where people generally fall asleep pretty early, so to this day I still don't know what it could have been. 2 years ago I went on holidays to Uruguay. Me, my parents, my cousin and her mom stayed in a family friend's house which is like 100 years old. We go to that fucking house almost every summer, and I always feel horrible vibes, but I tried to convince myself that it was just me. The house was shaped really weird. It was like long lol, so the bedroom where my parents were sleeping was next to mine, connected with a door. If they wanted to go to the bathroom, that was on the other side of the house, they'd had to walk through the bedroom me and my cousin were staying. My aunt was in the bedroom in front of the bathroom. At like 2 AM I hear someone, a male to be more specific, like clearing their voice, coughing. It was weird as fuck. I keep staring into the hall, freaking out, and I see a freaking silhouette poking his head and like half of his torso from the bathroom door. I was paralyzed. He had the nerve to do it again. Then my aunt's bedroom door slammed shut. It wasn't that terrible though. This happened years ago, and although my parents were sleeping, not all of the people in this story did so. I was maybe 15 years old and was watching TV in my room. It was after midnight, but I don't remember the exact time. My room was the attic and behind the TV was a big dormer window. Suddenly my room brightened up and I saw outside a ball of fire going down. It was really big because it was near, I guess, and it seemed to go down into a forest next to our house. We lived on a street with houses on one side and on the other was the forest. One strange thing was that there was no sound, no shockwave, no impact. But maybe I misinterpreted the size of the object. First I was shocked. But then I became so curious and I was no more able to sleep. So I put on some clothes and went outside with a flashlight. The forest was completely dark and I walked into the direction where I thought the impact must have been. There was no fire, no smell of smoke. I didn't find any proof of a huge fireball that crashed in the forest. But there were people, some in groups, some with their dog or alone. I saw them from far away. Only one woman crossed my path and she greeted me. I didn't know her, but it's a small town, so greetings are polite and normal. Unfortunately, I didn't dare to ask her if she's in the woods because of that object or for another reason. Back home I was pretty sure the ball of fire was just imagination, though the room was very bright for a short time. But why were a lot of people outside in the middle of the night? This still creeps me out. And sorry for my English, I hope it wasn't too bad. One night I was getting ready for sleep, just standing in my kitchen drinking some milk, and suddenly heard a voice that was like a whisper of a little girl in the direction I was randomly looking at. I couldn't make out what it said. I do have a younger sister, 17, but she was asleep in her room, which we actually share, live in a small old house so have to share, and her voice sounds nothing like what I heard. So I kinda just froze, finished my drink, then ran to our room, and sister was definitely asleep and our room is in the opposite direction from where I heard the voice. I've had a lot of times where I've heard voices or footsteps, but everyone has always been asleep. I heard 3 men arguing really loudly and angrily outside at 4 a.m. I live in a flat on the 2nd floor, so they weren't directly near me, but I heard one of them mention a gun. There were also punching sounds. I was 13 at the time and my entire family was asleep. I grabbed the biggest knife I could find and just held onto it for the rest of the night. I was hosting a sleepover. Through one of the 6 tall windows in my basement I saw a humanoid figure with yellow eyes look at me and scamper/gallop away. I was at my grandma's house when I heard chanting "come for outside." My window was open, so I went to see what was going on, and there was about 5 old women doing a ritual in the middle of the road, and after that day I never saw them again. I heard an absolute blood-curdling scream in the middle of the night outside my house. I had headphones on full blast and I still heard it. For a split second I thought I was imagining things, but our dog started barking and running through the house. I got up to investigate and thought that when I looked out our street I would see other neighbors out wondering what the hell happened. But there was nothing. I was watching random videos on YouTube at 2 a.m. telling myself I would go to sleep after finishing the current one. When I actually decided to do so, I powered down my laptop and got up to go upstairs to go to sleep. When I look around briefly in the dark, I see a man starting at me from the hallway wearing a suit and a hat. The porch lights gave off enough light to distinguish him in the dark. I sprinted upstairs and closed door of my room, turning on every light switch on my way. I woke up everyone and told them what I had seen. It turns out that they had also seen the same man stare at them at night at the same spot, but that he vanished from their sight after blinking or looking away for a second. They hadn't talked about it because they had thought it was a dream, since they had seen him after waking up on the couch at night. A few months later, a friend who stayed over the night at the living room saw him too. Since then no one takes snaps in the living room, and now we know it wasn't our imagination after the friend described the man exactly as we had seen him without having known about the previous incidents. I love astronomy. In a dark rural area at 2 a.m., even a mouse rustling some leaves behind you might as well sound like a bear. If a barred owl decides to scream from a nearby tree, it will scare the fuck out of you. The worst is some random cat fight. Cats sound like demons when they fight. I'm definitely not a night owl, but once I was staying up for a school project and I heard this kinda loud howl scream hybrid a couple times. It was highly off-putting and I was pretty creeped out. I came to find out that it was just my cat screaming at an outdoor cat that she saw through the window. I never imagined she could scream so loudly that I'd hear across the house and up a floor. This outdoor cat now visits us pretty often, and she reacts the same way every time. Just last night, I was at a sleepover. I heard a door open, footsteps, and then it stopped. The next morning, the back door was wide open. The issue was, I never heard the footsteps start or stop at the parents' room. None of my friends were gone during it, all sleeping. Okay, I live in a shit area. This is where the government puts all the pedophiles and drug when they get realized. One night I heard loud banging from the other side of the street. Didn't think much of it at first, probably just the wind making stuff hit together. As a night owl I learned quickly to ignore creepy sounds. Then I heard yelling, also not unusual for this area at this time. I went to bed after I stopped hearing noises. I woke up in the morning, police were down the road, around where I was hearing the sounds. 2 days later I learned that the couple that lived in that house were fighting. The woman locked her husband out of the bedroom and he was mad. So he went outside, climbed through the window and proceeded to beat her while she was half asleep. She was hospitalized but she's alright now. It's been 5 years and I'll never forgive myself for not doing anything.